My parents spent my wedding fund on my twins' lavish party. I cut them off, now they're back begging for help. Hey there, let me give you a rundown. I'm a 28-year-old woman who has been in this never-ending sibling rivalry with my twin sister, Emily, since, well, forever it seems. It's not just our little secret thing, our parents have kind of fueled it without even realizing. They've always treated Emily like she's super special, and I'm here to explain why that's been the case. So, Emily's my twin, but she's 12 whole minutes older than me. Yeah, you heard that right, just 12 minutes. And somehow, that's been enough for her to be seen as the golden child of our family. She was like their little miracle from the start, the kid who could do no wrong. I wasn't a terrible kid or anything, but it felt like any credit I deserved always went to Emily. One of my earliest memories of this favoritism was back in kindergarten. We were both in this school play, me as Little Red Riding Hood, the main act, and Emily as, well, a flower with a couple of lines. She ended up crying on stage because she forgot her lines, and boom, my parents missed my whole performance because they were busy comforting her. Later, they didn't even mention my role, just kept talking about how brave Emily was for giving it a try. This kind of thing went on all through elementary school. If Emily got a C on a test, it was like, "Aw, you tried your best." But if I was racking up A's left and right, it barely got a nod from them. I remember in 4th grade when I poured my heart into a science project about renewable energy, researching and building models for weeks. I won first place and got a blue ribbon. When I showed it to my parents, they barely glanced at it because Emily had a rough volleyball practice that day. After that, I just stopped showing them my awards altogether. The favoritism wasn't even subtle. My dad would crack jokes at family events about how Emily, being 12 minutes older, was the responsible older sister, and I'd just sit there, feeling like a shadow. By middle school, it really started to mess with me mentally. I was hell-bent on proving myself, joining clubs like the student council, debate team, and math club. I worked my butt off, studying into the early hours. Meanwhile, Emily just breezed through everything and still somehow got more attention. I remember prepping for a state-level math competition in 8th grade, working for months, staying up till 2 or 3 a.m. The day of the competition, Emily had a casual soccer game. My parents didn't even ask about my competition, they were all about cheering up Emily since her team lost. High school was more of the same story. I was drowning in extracurriculars, taking all the AP classes, keeping a perfect 4.0 GPA. And Emily? She mostly partied, barely keeping a C average, but she was fun and social. I was labeled the competitive, serious one. Come senior year, it was pretty clear. I was valedictorian, got a full ride to a top university, and even landed in the local newspaper. Emily barely scraped by and went to community college, but our graduation party was all about her not getting into her first choice school. My achievements? Not even mentioned. College was another story. I kept up my grades, worked part-time, studied computer science at a prestigious uni, and hoped my parents would finally see my worth. Nope. Every time I went home, it was still all about Emily. She dropped out of community college after one semester, and somehow they saw that as her being courageous for forging her own path. Then, during Thanksgiving in my junior year, things took a turn. My uncle, who tends to drink a little too much, let slip that my parents hadn't planned on having twins. They were shocked to find out they were having 2 babies instead of 1. My dad just shrugged it off, but my mom was pretty worried about handling 2 kids. And that, my friends, is where our story really begins to make sense. Growing up, it felt like my parents had this weird method of picking a favorite kid. They zeroed in on Emily, the oldest, and funneled all their energy her way. I never really got why they didn't care much about my achievements until one night at dinner. My uncle dropped a bombshell. Those crucial 12 minutes, the time between Emily's birth and mine, made all the difference. I was the unexpected afterthought, the kid they hadn't planned for. After that night, something shifted in me. I stopped trying to win their approval and focused on building my own life. I threw myself into my studies and internships, determined to succeed for me, not them. By graduation, I had multiple offers from top tech companies. I landed a role at a solid startup as a software engineer and, within 3 years, got promoted to senior developer. While I was busy killing it at work, Emily was planning this extravagant wedding. She'd met some rich guy at a bar, and of course, our folks were over the moon. They couldn't even remember the name of the company I worked for, but they'd spend hours on the phone with her, chatting about wedding details. Meanwhile, my startup was prepping for an IPO, and my stock options were worth more than Emily's fiancé made in a year. The irony, right? I was doing really well, but they never cared to ask about my career. The whole wedding fund fiasco was the final straw that broke my heart. Our grandma was the only one who treated us fairly. Before she passed away, she made sure to leave us both a nice chunk of change for our future weddings. She even told me privately that she knew how our parents treated me, and this was her way of ensuring I'd have something just for me. But, naturally, my parents couldn't respect her wishes. Emily wanted this over-the-top wedding with all the bells and whistles, a celebrity photographer, a fancy dress, multiple venues, you name it. Instead of reining her in or asking her well-off fiancé to chip in more, they just dipped into my share of the inheritance. They didn't ask, didn't tell. I only found out months later when my same outspoken uncle blurted it out at another family gathering. When I called them out, their reactions were priceless. My mom just waved it off, saying they meant to tell me and would pay me back when they could. My dad was even worse, saying, well, Emily needed it more. She's the traditional one getting married, and you're so wrapped up in work you might not even want a big wedding. I looked at them, feeling a numbness so deep it almost felt like nothing. They couldn't see any wrong in what they did, all because it was for Emily. That night, as I sat alone in my apartment, I thought about everything. Emily had overshadowed every major moment in my life. At my high school graduation, they were busy consoling Emily over her grades. They barely noticed my college scholarship because Emily was wedding planning. I finally did something I should have done ages ago. I opened my laptop and sent them an email that laid it all out. I knew about the wedding fund. I knew they'd used my inheritance for Emily's wedding without asking. More than the money, it was about the way they'd always treated me as less than. I told them I was done trying to win their love and acceptance. I asked them not to contact me again unless it was to pay me back. Hitting send felt like a weight off my shoulders. I blocked their numbers, deleted them from social media, and, for the first time, stopped worrying about living up to Emily's standards or seeking approval I'd never get. This past year has been transformative. I threw myself into my work and personal growth. My stock options now exceed the cost of Emily's entire wedding, thanks to our company's successful IPO. I started therapy to tackle my childhood baggage, bought my own place in a great part of town, and made genuine friends who appreciate me for who I am. Sometimes Emily tries to reach out through distant family or mutual friends with lines like, "Family should stick together," or "You're still my sister." But honestly, after seeing how our parents disregarded me, those words don't mean much anymore. Over the years, I've accomplished a lot, but where was the whole family vibe when my sister happily took my inheritance for her wedding? And where was any sense of shared responsibility when she was in cahoots with our parents on everything? Some of my relatives are trying to pin the blame on me, saying I'm being too harsh and spouting the whole blood is thicker than water spiel. But these are the same folks who stood by silently, watching my parents play favorites with Emily for years, ignoring how I was treated. Honestly, cutting ties with them has been a revelation. It turns out my real family is my therapist, who's helping me figure out none of this mess is my fault, my coworkers who cheer on my successes, and my college bestie who even helped me move into my new place. These are the people who genuinely care about me. So, I've been offered a team lead role at my firm, which just opened a new office out of state. For the first time, I'm making a decision without worrying about how it stacks up to Emily or what our parents might think. It's a fantastic opportunity, and living for myself feels incredible. Still, I wonder if I'm being a jerk for cutting them all off. I sometimes feel like I'm being dramatic, but whenever I think about reconnecting, I remember all those years of feeling not good enough and realize I made the right call. Things got even more complicated recently. A couple of weeks ago, my phone blew up with calls from Uncle Greg while I was in a team meeting. Normally, I'd ignore family calls because they usually mean drama, but something was off with all those calls in a row, so I picked up. Greg, who's usually Mr. Positivity, was shaky on the other end. "Hey, it's Uncle Greg," he said, and I knew something bad was up. "I need to talk to you about your parents." My stomach dropped. I hadn't heard from them in 2 years. "What's going on?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "They were in an accident, a pretty bad one, and they're in the hospital," he said, pausing to take a deep breath. "Their car was hit by a truck running a red light. Dad's in critical condition, and Mom's got several fractures. They've been in the hospital for a few days." "Days?" I repeated, my voice rising. "And no one thought to tell me until now?" He said they wanted him to tell me calmly. "Apparently, they want to see me. But that's not the whole story. Their insurance is having issues because, 6 months ago, they let it lapse due to financial troubles from credit card debt and bad investments. They're not getting out of the hospital anytime soon, and the bills are piling up." I asked about Emily, already knowing the answer. Uncle Greg sighed. "She said she can't help with the bills. She only visited once after the accident and doesn't want to ask her husband for money right after their honeymoon. She's busy with her stepkids, her new family. That made me chuckle, typical Emily, always an excuse. She's too proud to ask her rich husband for money for our parents' medical bills, even though she had no problem using my inheritance for her wedding. I sat in my office for a long time after the call, just staring out at the city skyline. I couldn't miss the irony. Now that my stock options have vested, I have enough saved up to cover their medical expenses easily. But did I want to? For the next few days, I was on edge every time my phone buzzed, thinking it would be news about their condition. I couldn't stop picturing them in hospital beds, probably wondering if I'd show up. They're my parents, so I felt guilty even considering not helping them. But all the favoritism, the inheritance they took, and the fact they only reached out now because they need something kept coming back to me. This wasn't about reconciling or making things right, it's about money. Then, 3 days after Uncle Greg's call, Emily texted me. I know you're doing well at work. Parents desperately need help. This is your chance to do the right thing. My chance to do the right thing? Where was this moral compass when she was using my inheritance for her wedding? Where was she all those years? So, let me tell you what went down. My parents used to always brush off my achievements, and after 2 years of not hearing from them, they finally decided to give me a call. It was obvious they were going through something big, especially since my mom sounded all loopy from pain meds. She started off with this dramatic speech about how they were in a tough situation, saying the medical bills could hit $200,000 without even counting rehab costs. They admitted they hadn't been the best parents, but before my mom could get too far, I jumped in. I was like, nah, you guys aren't parents to me and never have been. I mean, seriously, it had been 2 whole years without a peep from them, and now they were reaching out just because they needed cash. Then my dad chimed in, probably on speaker, saying something like, that's not fair. Family supports family. That was the last straw. I was fuming and started venting about how they used my inheritance to pay for my sister Emily's wedding and missed my college graduation. To them, it was always Emily this, Emily that. My mom started crying with those crocodile tears she always used to try and guilt trip me, saying, how can you be so cruel? I took a deep breath and told them exactly how I felt. Yes, I am leaving you. You ditched me emotionally a long time ago. They only ever saw me as a backup plan. I cut off my dad too when he tried to say, but we're family. I told him that family meant nothing when they decided Emily was the only one who mattered. I was done and told them never to contact me again. After hanging up, I blocked their numbers. I also sent a text to Emily, telling her to try handling them herself. The next few days were tough. I kept second-guessing my decision, wondering if I was being too harsh. But every time, I remembered all the times they'd ignored me unless they wanted something. Uncle Greg even called later trying to lay on the guilt, saying they might lose everything and needed physical therapy and surgery. But, hey, their financial problems aren't my responsibility. They made their choices and now they're dealing with the consequences. Some might think I'm being cold-hearted, and maybe I am. I spent my whole life trying to earn their love, but I'm done being the backup. My sanity and financial security matter more than their guilt trips. I even asked Reddit if I was a jerk for not helping them out with medical bills. My therapist wasn't sure either, but it felt like just another instance of them needing me only when they were desperate. Things took another wild turn 3 days ago. I was chilling at home, unwinding after a long day at work. We're about to launch a new office. Around 8:07 p.m., the doorbell rang while I was sipping some fancy red wine and listening to classical music. I peeked through the peephole, and there was Emily, looking all glamorous like the trophy wife she'd become, carrying a $15,000 Hermes Birkin bag no less. The irony wasn't lost on me. The bag alone could cover a big chunk of our parents' medical bills. For a second, I thought about pretending I wasn't home. But then I realized I wasn't that person anymore. Emily had had the upper hand for too long, and I wasn't about to let her continue winning. I swung open the door, trying to keep it cool like I was in some corporate boardroom, and leaned against the doorframe. Well, if it isn't my dear sister. What brings you to my humble abode? I quipped. Without even waiting for a proper invite, Emily waltzed right past me into my apartment, classic Emily. Her eyes did a quick scan of my place, the original artwork on the walls, the sleek furniture, and those epic floor-to-ceiling windows with city views. I could almost see her mentally comparing it to her big suburban McMansion. She went, nice place, in that way people do when they don't really mean it but want to sound polite. Very cozy, she added, using that tone rich folks use for things they think are beneath them. Cut to the chase, Emily. Why are you here? I asked. She fiddled with her scarf, something she's done since we were kids, and said, "Mom and Dad are in bad shape. Mom's treatment isn't covered, and Dad needs emergency surgery for some internal bleeding they didn't catch earlier. Unless they prove they can pay up, the hospital's saying they might stop treatment. They're even talking about selling the house." Her knuckles went white as she clutched her fancy purse tighter. Classic Emily, always planning the next move. "And that's my problem, why?" I asked, raising an eyebrow and mimicking that snooty tone she used when we were younger. "Because you can help them," she said, and I could see a crack in her perfect facade. "I know your company went public. I checked the stock prices. I did my homework. You've got money." I couldn't help but laugh, a bit harsher than I meant to, the sound bouncing off my apartment walls. "Oh, you've been keeping tabs on me? Fascinating. Did you do this much research before using my inheritance for your wedding, or before saying no to helping them yourself? And where's your wealthy husband in all this?" Emily's face went beet red, just like when we were kids, and her dramatic meltdowns would end with our parents comforting her. "That's different," she stammered, her confidence slipping. "I've got a new family now. Responsibilities, stepkids. James and I have our finances separate. I can't just throw money at every family issue." "Can't just what?" I cut in sharply. "Can't help your own parents who gave you everything? Who paid for your wedding with my inheritance? Who skipped my college graduation to help you move? Those parents?" She waved a hand dismissively, saying, "That's in the past," but I saw her step back. "This is about right now. You're being selfish, they need help." Her calling me selfish was the last straw. Years of bottled up anger and bitterness turned into a clear, icy determination. I quietly went to my home office, grabbed my laptop and some papers, and returned to the living room. "Want to talk money, Emily? Let's chat." I turned my laptop screen towards her, showing my portfolio. "See these numbers? My stock options? Let me break it down for you. This is worth more than James, your husband, will be in 3 years. That house you love so much? I could buy it outright tomorrow if I wanted." Her face turned pale as she looked at the figures. I continued, showing her my investment portfolio, pay stubs, and the latest job offers I'd received. "But you're a tech worker," she mumbled, sounding unsure for the first time. "Just a programmer. Emily, I'm a senior development director now. While you and your rich husband played house, I was building something for myself without stepping on anyone else." I shut my laptop with a decisive click. I could help Mom and Dad with their medical bills without touching my own resources, but I won't, she whispered. "You're being cruel," but I saw she realized I had the upper hand for once. "No, cruel is ignoring your sister all her life and only showing up when you need something. Cruel is taking her inheritance for your wedding. Are we done here?" I opened the door for her. "Don't come back." She stood there, clutching her expensive purse like a shield, making one last attempt. "You'll regret this." But her voice lacked its usual confidence. "When they lose everything. My only regret is not cutting you all off sooner, Emily. Goodbye." After she left, I poured myself a glass of wine from a $200 bottle I'd been saving for a special occasion, and this felt like one. I stepped out onto my balcony, the city lights in front of me like a tapestry of freedom and new chances. I felt liberated. For the first time ever, I finally felt free, no more living in Emily's shadow, no more guilt trips, and definitely no more chasing after approval. The next morning, my phone blew up with notifications. Turned out, Emily had been on the phone all night, telling every family member she could reach how I've changed. She claimed my success made me cold and heartless, and accused me of ditching the family when they needed me most. Uncle Greg even sent me this long email lecturing me about karma and family duties. So, I decided to drop some truth bombs and shared a detailed folder in the family group chat. It had everything: scanned copies of my inheritance documents, bank statements showing how my money funded Emily's wedding, her texts refusing to chip in for medical bills despite living the high life, and a breakdown of my finances, clearly showing how much I could help if I wanted to. After that, the family chat went dead silent. Except for cousin Angela, who was like, "Whoa, you really did it, huh? And you succeeded on your own." Over the next few days, I began working on my future plans in another state. I accepted a promotion with a sweet package and more stocks. My real estate agent thinks my apartment will sell for way more than I'm asking, so it's up on the market. I've already started hunting for real estate in my new city, maybe a penthouse this time. Emily sent one last text saying, "Mom's crying every night because of you." I just replied that Mom had plenty of time to cry over how she treated me, tossed in a screenshot of my inheritance papers, and pointed out that her tears don't affect me anymore. Then, I blocked her and the rest of the family. Honestly, it felt like shutting a book I should have closed ages ago. You guys on Reddit have been incredible throughout all this. Your encouragement showed me I wasn't alone and it's okay to put myself first over toxic family members. Your comments kept me grounded whenever I started doubting myself. Recently, someone asked if financial success was worth losing family over. But honestly, I didn't lose anyone who really treated me as family. My success just gave me the guts to refuse their behavior. It didn't change who I am. I want to thank everyone who shared stories, gave advice, or just confirmed my feelings when I needed strength. You gave it to me. Next week, I'm going to start house hunting in my new city. A new life, a new career, and a new home are on the horizon. For the first time, I'm excited about the future without any family obligations holding me back. It may sound harsh to some, but I realize that being called a jerk by toxic people means you're finally standing up for yourself. Reddit, thank you. You helped me find my worth and my voice. Thanks for following my journey. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell to keep up with more jaw-dropping real-life stories from around you.